John, let me start with the poll question. Jeter, LeBron, or Brady? Whose career?
Can I go off the board?
Sure.
Jordan Spieth.
Jordan Spieth.
Well, this is more like who I'd want to be.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I mean, like 20 years old, whatever, winning the money, knowing you're going to make gazillions of dollars playing golf the rest of your days. I'm good with that.
All right. Stay with the poll question then. Jeter, LeBron, or Brady, whose career?
Jeter.
Yeah.
More off the field stuff, I would say. It's probably probably puts me over the top for Jeter. I love the picture of the infield with all the ladies that are in right and left field, center. I mean, you can't do better than that.
Did you at least have an infield, John?
I would call it, probably had a dugout.
They never made the field?
Well, yeah, I would never want to be out in the field in public. I mean, if we stayed in the dugout, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, stay down in there.
All right, explain to me how the Spurs get that big lead. Explain to me how they blow that big lead.
Well, surprising. I mean, look, we saw them in Game 6. They looked like one of the greatest teams ever against the Rockets, smoking them by 40 or whatever it was, without Kawhi Leonard. So, very surprised that they could collapse like that, getting outscored 58-33. Look, I understand how great Kawhi is, and that kind of bolsters his, stance on being an MVP of how great this guy is. But crushing loss. I mean, I don't know what happens in Game 2 if he plays, but I'm shocked that they could lose a lead like that, as good as they were playing. And it was not all Kawhi Leonard. Aldridge played well. Manu Ginobili played well again. And Simmons and everybody was pitching in. And he goes out, and they just completely lose their minds. It was stunning.
But if I look at that play on Kawhi Leonard with Pachulia, how often does that happen normally in a game? And do you think it was out of the ordinary?
It was not a dirty play. I have seen people intentionally get their foot in there. No question about it. But that play in particular, I don't think it was dirty. Zaja contested the shot, and he actually just turned his head and looked to see if he had to go in for the rebound. So I don't think there was any ill intent on the play at all. But there has been instances where guys will put a foot down and hope the guy comes down on it. We don't see it a ton, but it's definitely a tactic that I've seen some players in the league use.
The Warriors' screens get a lot of attention, if you want to call them screens. There's some kind of grabbing that goes on. There's sort of a knee or a leg or a hip. Or how would you describe the Golden State Warriors' screens?
Everybody does it. If we sat here and called moving screens, the games would last for 5 hours. I mean, there's always some movement on a screen. When you're putting yourself out there, you want to protect yourself, too. You're not going to let a guy just run right into you, into your stomach. So you might put a little elbow. You might dip your shoulder. You might get your knee out there. Everybody does it. Everybody grabs. They're just good at it. And, they move so quickly and they're so fluid. Maybe, the officials just don't see it. I don't know. But everybody does the same thing. But they do it pretty masterfully.
And what they do is they sort of screen in transition, so it's not your typical pick and roll. It's just sort of, I'm going to get in your way just a little bit, and then that frees up Durant or Curry for jumpers.
Yeah, and the official's not really looking for that, in transition. They're worried about running down the court. They're probably looking at the basketball or looking straight ahead where they're running. So, yeah, you don't anticipate screens in transition. But when they get on a run, I mean, it is so beautiful to watch when they go on an 18-20-0 run. I saw it against Portland earlier in the playoffs. I mean, it is so fun to watch with their offensive explosions.
He's Jon Barry of the Mothership. He'll have the call. He's the analyst for ESPN Radio tonight. Game 7 starts at 8 Eastern on ESPN Radio. What do you expect to happen? And give me a scenario other than the Celtics win at home. How does that happen for the Wizards?
Well, no idea. I mean, this has been a crazy series. You can go back to every game in this Celtic-Wizard season. The home team has won every time, 10 in a row. So, You don't know. Washington has to bring their defense. They've given up over 120 in every single game here in Boston in the playoffs. They've held them to 95 when they're in Washington. So for whatever the reason, the defense doesn't travel for the Wizards. And it's got to travel tonight. They can't afford to give up that many points. And, typically in these games, it comes down to who can be a hero, Can it be Otto Porter? Can it be Gortat or Morris? Could it be Crowder or Bradley or Amir Johnson? Who knows? But somebody else has to step up. You assume that Isaiah Thomas will play well. Bradley's play great. Horford. You assume Bradley, Beal, and John Wall will play well. Who's going to be that third guy or maybe even the fourth guy to get it done?
Is John Wall a great player?
I think he is. I think he had a great season. I put him just behind Isaiah Thomas in my MVP voting. I don't know that there's anybody faster going to the rim than him. When he makes a decision from end to end, he's as quick as there is in the league. He doesn't shoot it great, but he's much better than he's been. I think he's a great leader. I think he truly cares about winning. I don't think he cares about numbers. I think he's a great player.
If you could have him for the next 5 years or James Harden?
Ooh. That's a good one. I guess I got to go with Harden. I mean, 29 and 11. That's tough to snub at.
You don't seem like you're all in on that, though.
I think it's a discussion.
Yeah.
I really do. But, I mean, James Harden is a guy who wins a game offensively on his own. I don't know that John Wall does that. He's capable. He had a 40-point game in this series. But that's not really what he's about. It's true scoring, and Harden's been able to show the ability to do both.
Does that take away anything from an MVP-like season? What happened in the last game, maybe 6 quarters for James Harden in the previous series?
Well, it's not going to matter since we've all voted, but that certainly leaves a bad taste, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around what happened there. He hadn't had a game like that all season. And to take 2 shots in the first half of an elimination game and just bow out that way, I think that there has to be something that transpired in the locker room or off the court to see an effort like that from that team.
Yeah, I didn't understand the game plan when he didn't have a shot in the first quarter, and then I realized he only had 2 in the first half, and I went, does he not know who he's playing with? That they're not going to survive this way, and all of a sudden goes down in flames and fouls out, and they get blown out, and I don't know. You're right. There's some mystery there. Maybe something comes out here eventually in the offseason.
Well, yeah. And Kawhi Leonard goes out. You think that he would just completely take control, and you go back to the game's 5. That offense in the overtime period was as bad as I've ever seen. I mean, it was James Harden holding the ball till about the 5-second mark and then chucking up a shot.
Yeah, bizarre. Well, have fun tonight. Play nice as always, and we'll talk to you again. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. That's Jon Barry, ESPN radio analyst.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.